All right, folks, welcome back for part 2 of our UPSC Current Affairs Deep Dive for February 28th, 2025.
Great to be back.
Now, as always, this is tailored specifically for you, our ambitious UPSC aspirant, hitting all the major events you need to know to ace that exam.
Absolutely.
And remember, we might have touched upon some of these in our previous deep dives, so consider this your power-packed revision session. And I'm really excited to have our expert back with us to connect the dots and give you that all-important big-picture perspective. Ready to dive in?
Let's get started.
Okay, let's kick things off with something that's creating quite a buzz internationally, agri-food systems and their impact on biodiversity.
Lots to unpack there.
We're getting some fresh insights from the UN Biodiversity Conference in Rome, where the FAO is urging some serious action. They're even talking about something called Agri-NBSAPs.
Right.
Sounds a bit like a mouthful, doesn't it?
It might sound a bit intimidating at first, but essentially Agri-NBSAPs are all about making sure our food production systems are working in sync with our national plans for biodiversity.
Okay, I see.
Think of it as weaving together agriculture and biodiversity strategies.
So it's about ensuring our farms and food systems aren't working against nature, but rather with it.
Exactly. It's about aligning them with the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, which aims to put a stop to biodiversity loss by 2030.
Ambitious.
This link between agriculture and biodiversity is a massive topic, and something you'll find popping up across different subjects in the UPSC syllabus environment, economics, and even international relations.
So this is definitely one to watch. Now, how do we actually protect biodiversity within these complex agri-food systems? What are the key things we need to focus on?
The FAO has highlighted 3 key areas. The first is protecting natural land.
Okay.
This means safeguarding existing ecosystems and resisting the temptation to convert them into farmland. The second is adopting nature-friendly farming practices.
I see. So what kind of things would that involve?
This includes things like reducing reliance on monoculture, embracing polyculture, and significantly cutting back on chemical inputs like pesticides and fertilizers. The third lever focuses on dietary shifts, particularly towards more plant-based diets.
Right.
While this may seem radical, animal agriculture has a massive impact on biodiversity, land use, and various environmental systems. These 3 levers are all interconnected, and each plays a crucial role in safeguarding the planet's biodiversity.
These are some serious points to consider. Now let's turn our attention to a pressing issue within India: proxy participation in Panchayati Raj Institutions, or PRIs as we know them.
Right, a very important issue.
A recent report by the Ministry of Panchayati Raj is shining a light on this problem, especially the issue of sarpanch party husbands or male relatives wielding power instead of the elected women representatives.
It's a problem for sure.
It's a stark reminder that despite constitutional mandates for women's reservation in PRIs, we still have a long way to do in terms of true representation. Can you shed some light on the key recommendations put forward to tackle this?
Absolutely. The report proposes some significant reforms to curb proxy participation and empower women in PRIs. A key suggestion is to implement stricter penalties for proven cases of male interference.
Okay.
Though the specifics of these penalties still need to be ironed out. The report also suggests adopting more robust policies, drawing inspiration from Kerala's model of gender-exclusive quotas for specific positions.
Interesting.
Mandatory public swearing-in ceremonies for elected women representatives and establishing women panchayat federations to foster a sense of solidarity and support among them.
These are some really interesting proposals.
Yeah.
I particularly like the idea of women panchayat federations creating a space for women to connect and support each other.
For sure.
But what about accountability? How do we make sure these measures actually translate into real change on the ground?
Accountability is crucial. That's why the report recommends setting up dedicated helplines, forming watchdog committees, and offering rewards for whistleblowers who report instances of proxy leadership.
Okay.
Another interesting suggestion is to effectively utilize the Panchayat Nirnay portal, an online platform that enables citizens to track the participation and decisions of their elected representatives.
Right.
By making this information public, it adds a layer of transparency and accountability.
That's a brilliant use of technology. Making information accessible and transparent is such a powerful tool for empowerment.
Absolutely.
But as aspiring civil servants, we can't just take things at face value, right? What are some potential challenges or limitations we might encounter while implementing these recommendations?
You're absolutely right. Critical thinking is a must for the UPSC exam.
Yeah.
While these reforms hold a lot of promise, we need to carefully consider their practicality and effectiveness in diverse contexts.
Nice.
For example, imposing penalties requires a robust system for investigation and evidence gathering, which can be difficult in rural areas. Similarly, technological solutions like the Panchayati portal may face obstacles in regions with low digital literacy or limited internet connectivity.
Those are some really important points to keep in mind.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that policies need to be adaptable and sensitive to the ground realities.
Exactly. And even with strong policies, changing deep-rooted social norms and power dynamics is a long-term process that demands sustained effort and a multi-pronged approach.
Now let's shift gears and look at India's role on the global stage, starting with our engagement with Africa.
Okay.
The Minister of External Affairs recently made a statement emphasizing India's commitment to building rather than extracting in Africa.
Right.
This seems to be a significant statement, especially in the context of global power dynamics. Can you unpack this a bit further for us?
This statement reflects a fundamental difference between India's approach and, say, China's approach to engagement with Africa. China's model has often drawn criticism for focusing heavily on resource extraction and infrastructure development that primarily benefits Chinese companies. In contrast, India's emphasis on capacity building, skill development, and technology transfer suggests a more collaborative and sustainable approach to development.
I see.
Take initiatives like the ITEC program, the Pan-African E-Network, and India's strong support for Africa's permanent G20 membership. These initiatives highlight India's commitment to empowering African nations rather than simply extracting resources.
It's fascinating to see these contrasting approaches playing out on the geopolitical stage. Speaking of economic engagement, let's turn our attention to Australia. A new roadmap for economic cooperation has just been unveiled, highlighting 4 superhighways of growth: clean energy, education and skills, agribusiness, and tourism.
Sounds interesting.
What makes these sectors particularly ripe for collaboration between India and Australia?
These sectors represent areas where both countries have strengths that complement each other, and they have shared interests in these areas. For instance, Australia's expertise in renewable energy technologies aligns perfectly with India's burgeoning demand for clean energy solutions. This creates a natural synergy for collaboration. Similarly, Australia's world-class education system can cater to the aspirations of Indian students seeking international qualifications, while India's vast pool of skilled professionals can contribute to meeting Australia's workforce needs.
So it's more than just a win-win situation. It's about leveraging each other's strengths for mutual benefit. What concrete steps are outlined in this roadmap to actually boost collaboration in these sectors?
The roadmap is packed with specific initiatives. For instance, the Australia-India Trade and Investment Accelerator Fund is designed to help Australian businesses tap into the vast and dynamic Indian market. There's also the Australia-India Business Exchange, or AIBX, a platform specifically created to facilitate business-to-business connections. And to further solidify these ties, the Australia-India CEO Forum has been revitalized to foster dialogue and collaboration at the highest levels of industry and government.
It sounds like they're really pulling out all the stops to strengthen this partnership. But as always, I'm curious about the bigger picture. How does this roadmap fit into the evolving relationship between India and Australia, especially considering recent developments?
This roadmap builds on the momentum created by recent developments, like the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, or ECPA, which came into effect in 2021. It's also worth noting that Australia has set an ambitious target of making India one of its top 3 export markets by 2035.
Yeah.
Beyond trade, Australia has officially recognized India as a top-tier security partner in its national defense strategy.
Wow.
This move signifies a deepening strategic partnership driven by shared concerns about regional stability and a vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific region.
This definitely suggests a burgeoning partnership between the two countries. But being UPSC aspirants, we have to look beyond the headlines, right? Are there any potential challenges or areas of friction we should be aware of in this relationship?
You're spot on. Even the most well-intentioned partnerships have complexities.
For sure.
Some potential challenges could arise from differing stances on issues like climate change or specific trade policies. Another factor to keep an eye on is the evolving geopolitical landscape, particularly China's growing influence in the Indo-Pacific region. How India and Australia navigate these complexities will ultimately determine the trajectory of their partnership.
That's a great point. It's important to consider these nuances, especially as India's future policymakers.
Yeah.
Now, before we jump into our rapid-fire round, let's tackle a topic that's been generating considerable debate within India: delimitation.
Okay.
Southern states have voiced concerns about a potential reduction in their parliamentary representation due to delimitation exercises based on population.
Right.
The Union Home Minister has assured that no Lok Sabha seat will be reduced on a pro rata basis, and that southern states will receive their rightful share. This is a sensitive issue, and understanding the constitutional basis of delimitation, the concerns of different states, and the potential political implications is crucial.
Definitely.
Can you break this down for us?
Absolutely. Delimitation is the process of redrawing the boundaries of constituencies for elections. And it's a complex process rooted in Articles 82 and 170 of the Indian Constitution.
Okay.
These articles essentially state that the number and boundaries of Lok Sabha and state assembly constituencies can be readjusted based on factors like population changes. The 84th Constitutional Amendment in 2001 put a freeze on delimitation exercises until after the first census following 2026.
Right.
However, as we approach that census, the conversation about delimitation is gaining momentum and sparking anxieties, especially among southern states that have implemented successful population control measures.
So they're worried that their success in managing population growth might actually result in fewer Lok Sabha seats.
Precisely. The fear is that if delimitation is solely based on population figures, states that have responsibly managed population growth could end up with reduced representation in parliament. This raises questions about fairness and whether such states are being unfairly penalized for their efforts.
That's a valid concern. So how are delimitation commissions formed, and what kind of power do they hold?
Delimitation commissions are established by the President of India under the Delimitation Commission Act.
Right.
They comprise a retired Supreme Court judge, the Chief Election Commissioner, and the election commissioners.
Okay.
The decisions made by these commissions have the force of law and cannot be challenged in court. They have the authority to determine the number of seats for each state in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies, redraw constituency boundaries, and even reserve seats for scheduled castes and scheduled tribes.
That's a lot of responsibility. It's clear that delimitation is a powerful process that can significantly reshape India's political landscape.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, we are out of time for this part of our deep dive, but don't worry, we'll be back soon with part 3, where we will cover even more crucial events impacting our world. And in the meantime, remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our future deep dives. See you soon.
See you there. All right, ready to power through our rapid fire round?
Absolutely, let's do it.
First up, let's head over to the Caspian Sea. Environmental experts are ringing alarm bells about the rapidly declining water levels. It's shrinking at an alarming rate.
Yes, I remember reading about this. What are the main factors contributing to this decline?
It's a combination of things. Climate change plays a significant role, leading to increased evaporation. Then there's the excessive water usage for agriculture in the surrounding countries. And let's not forget about pollution from various sources, including, unfortunately, nuclear waste and industrial runoff. All of these factors combined are creating a perfect storm for the Caspian Sea.
It's a stark reminder of how interconnected these environmental challenges are, and how human actions have far-reaching consequences. Speaking of environmental concerns, let's move on to Bhitarkanika National Park in Odisha. I've heard that rising temperatures are impacting migratory birds there.
Bhitarkanika National Park is a real gem when it comes to biodiversity. It's India's second-largest mangrove ecosystem. Right after the Sundarbans, you'll find a unique mix of flora and fauna there, including the largest population of endangered saltwater crocodiles in India. It's also a crucial nesting ground for olive ridley turtles.
Wow, it's incredible how these ecosystems support such a diverse range of species. But how exactly are rising temperatures affecting the migratory birds?
Well, the changing climate is disrupting their migration patterns and breeding cycles. Many migratory bird species rely on specific temperature cues to trigger their journeys as temperatures rise and weather patterns become unpredictable. These birds are arriving at their destinations at the wrong times, missing out on crucial food sources or facing unsuitable breeding conditions.
It's a worrying trend, and it highlights the importance of understanding the cascading effects of climate change on delicate ecosystems. Now let's take a moment to remember a remarkable figure from India's history. Veer Narayan Singh today marks the anniversary of his passing. What can you tell us about his legacy?
Veer Narayan Singh was a true freedom fighter. He was a landlord from Chhattisgarh who became a prominent figure during the 1857 revolt. He is known for his courage, compassion, and unwavering commitment to social justice during a severe famine in 1856. He famously defied British authorities by opening up grain warehouses to feed the starving population. He was imprisoned for his actions, but later escaped and formed his own army, leading the revolt in Chhattisgarh. Veer Narayan Singh's story is a testament to the spirit of resistance that fueled India's fight for independence.
It's inspiring to remember the sacrifices made by individuals like Veer Narayan Singh who fought for justice and freedom. Speaking of historical battles, today also marks the anniversary of the Battle of Karnal, a pivotal moment in Mughal history.
The Battle of Karnal, fought in 1739, marked a turning point in the decline of the Mughal Empire. The Mughal army, led by Emperor Muhammad Shah, suffered a crushing defeat at the hands of Nadir Shah, the ruler of Persia. This defeat led to the plundering of Delhi and significantly weakened the Mughal Empire's authority and prestige.
It's a reminder of how empires, no matter how powerful they seem, can be vulnerable to external forces and internal weaknesses. Now, for something completely different, let's blast off to Mars. There's been a fascinating new study that challenges our assumptions about the red planet's color.
That's right. We've always associated Mars with its rusty red color, which scientists believed was due to anhydrous hematite, a mineral formed through recent weathering processes. But a new study published in Nature Communications suggests that a different mineral might be responsible, a poorly crystalline form of ferrihydrite. This mineral forms in cold, wet conditions, suggesting that Mars might have been much wetter in its ancient past than we previously thought.
It's amazing how scientific discoveries can reshape our understanding of the universe. Now, let's bring it back to Earth and acknowledge a significant milestone in global health, the 20th anniversary of the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control.
The WHO FCTC is a landmark treaty that has had a profound impact on global tobacco control efforts. It provides a framework for countries to implement measures like pictorial health warnings on cigarette packs, smoke-free public spaces, and higher tobacco taxes. India ratified the FCTC in 2004 and has been a key player in its implementation, serving as the regional coordinator for Southeast Asia.
It's encouraging to see the progress that has been made in tobacco control thanks to global cooperation and commitment. Now let's travel back in time to ancient India, where an exciting discovery in Odisha is shedding new light on the history of Tantric Buddhism.
Archaeologists have unearthed a stunning 1.4-meter Buddha head and over 1,500 stupas in Ratnagiri, Odisha. These findings, dating back over 1,500 years, solidify Odisha's historical importance as a major hub for Tantric Buddhism.
It's incredible how these ancient artifacts can connect us to the past and reveal hidden chapters of history. Could you tell us a bit more about what makes Tantric Buddhism unique?
Tantric Buddhism emerged as a distinct branch of Buddhism, emphasizing ritual practices and esoteric knowledge as pathways to enlightenment. It developed from Mahayana Buddhism, which had already incorporated elements like mantras and rituals. Tantric Buddhism, also known as Vajrayana, took these practices further, incorporating yogic techniques and complex visualizations as tools for spiritual transformation.
Fascinating. Now, before we wrap up, let's touch upon two important developments related to taxation and animal welfare in India. Firstly, the proposed income tax bill for 2025 includes provisions for General Anti-Avoidance Rules, or GAR. Give us a rundown on what GAR is all about.
GAR is essentially an anti-tax avoidance measure designed to prevent individuals or corporations from exploiting loopholes in tax laws to minimize their tax liability. It empowers tax authorities to look beyond the superficial structure of transactions and examine the underlying substance to determine if the primary intention was to avoid paying taxes. GAR has been in effect in India since 2017, and its inclusion in the proposed tax bill demonstrates a continued commitment to preventing tax evasion and ensuring a fairer tax system.
It's good to see measures being taken to close those loopholes and create a more level playing field. And lastly, let's give a shout out to the Animal Welfare Board of India, or AWBI, for their initiative to recognize animal protectors.
Absolutely. The AWBI is launching the Champions of Animal Protection Award to honor individuals and organizations that have made significant contributions to animal welfare. The award has two categories, Prani Mitra for individuals and Jeev Daya Award for organizations. This initiative highlights the AWBI's dedication to acknowledging and appreciating those working to protect animals and create a more compassionate society.
That's a fantastic initiative, and I think it's really important to recognize the people who dedicate themselves to animal welfare. And we're back with the final part of our UPSC Current Affairs Deep Dive for February 28th, 2025. You know, as always, we've designed this specifically for you, our dedicated UPSC aspirants. And today, we are focusing on all those crucial events that you need to know to ace that exam.
Definitely.
We've covered quite a bit already, but let's jump right back into the thick of things.
Sounds good.
Now, in our last part, we were discussing the proposed income tax bill for 2025.
Right.
And specifically those General Anti-Avoidance Rules, or as they're better known, GAR.
Uh-huh.
It's a bit of a complex topic, so for our listeners who might need a quick refresher, could you just give us a little rundown of what GAR is all about?
Sure. GAR is essentially a set of rules designed to prevent, well, let's just call it aggressive tax planning. You know, those intricate schemes that individuals and corporations sometimes use to find loopholes and pay less tax than they should?
Right, so in a nutshell, it's about making sure everyone pays their fair share and contributes to the nation's development.
Exactly. GAR empowers tax authorities to look beyond the surface of transactions and examine their true purpose. So even if a transaction technically follows the rules, if its main intention is to avoid taxes, then the authorities can step in.
That makes a lot of sense. It's really all about creating a fairer and more transparent system.
Absolutely.
Now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something I'm particularly passionate about, animal welfare.
Always a crucial topic.
I was really impressed to hear about the Animal Welfare Board of India's new initiative to recognize animal protection.
Yes, the Champions of Animal Protection Award.
Exactly. It's such a fitting tribute to those individuals and organizations that go above and beyond to protect animals.
It really is.
Could you remind us again about the different categories for the award?
Sure. The award has two categories, Prani Mitra, which is for individuals, and the Jivaya Award, which is specifically for organizations.
It's fantastic that they're recognizing both individual and collective efforts in this area.
Definitely.
And, you know, speaking of the Animal Welfare Board of India, they really do play such a vital role, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. They work tirelessly to promote the humane treatment of animals. Collaborating with the government, law enforcement, and various NGOs, they're involved in everything from rescue operations to advocating for stronger animal protection laws.
It's truly commendable work. And, you know, for our listeners who are preparing for the UPSC exam, this is definitely an area to pay attention to.
Right.
Animal welfare is becoming increasingly prominent, and you might encounter questions related to animal rights, ethical treatment, or the role of organizations like the AWBI.
Absolutely. It's important to be aware of the legal and ethical aspects surrounding animal welfare.
All right, folks, that brings us to the end of our UPSC Current Affairs Deep Dive for February 28th, 2025.
It's been another insightful session.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from global partnerships and economic trends to pressing environmental concerns, historical milestones, and critical social issues. Remember, as you continue your UPSC preparation, staying informed is absolutely crucial.
Couldn't agree more.
So make sure to explore these topics in detail, consider different viewpoints, and form your own well-informed opinions.
And don't forget to connect the dots between these seemingly separate events.
That's a great point. Analyzing these connections and understanding the broader trends is key to developing a holistic perspective.
Exactly.
And before we sign off, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our future deep dives into the fascinating world of current affairs.
Looking forward to it.
Until next time, keep those UPSC dreams burning bright and happy studying.
Best of luck, everyone.